Hello there, and a very blustery welcome to the official EFL podcast. This week we have a well-travelled manager back at the coalface after a year away, and endearingly back at home with his parents. It's new Colchester United boss Danny Cowley.
Once we met Colchester and met Robbie Cowling and Dimitri, the sporting director, those two in particular. When you spoke to Robbie, he spoke with such a passion for the club and so much love for the community, and this really resonated with Nicky and I. And yeah, really quickly, I felt that.
Sky Sports' David Stowell hits us up with his extensive EFL knowledge, and please give this your full attention as it's Stephen Fletcher's 72 in 72. Don't forget to press the follow button on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcast from so that you never miss an episode. Or if you prefer, you can watch the show on YouTube every week. Enough blather, let's pod. It's the official EFL podcast. So presumably you've all been battening down the hatches. Storm Aisha's been through. Storm Jocelyn, we're at the tail end of that. And I tell you what, I'm bringing you Storm Stowell, Gale Force, EFL opinion right here on the podcast. David, how are you?
I'm very well, Pretz. You all right? You okay?
I'm good. As I said, blowing a gale, walking the dog this morning was fun. Came back completely windswept. But as you see, I've done my hair now and I'm ready to go. So without any further waiting around, let's talk to our very special guest this week. He's back in the game after a year out, just taking things in, recalibrating as he tends to do. He's also back at home. Danny Cowley, how are you?
Hello, Pratch. Yeah, very well, thank you. Thanks for having us on.
It's good to see you, my friend. Really good to see you. First and foremost, great to have you back on the touchline. Just around a year out of the game, all managers are either in jobs or in between jobs. How did you find being in between jobs?
Yeah, I think for Nicky and I, we love football. Football's always the first thing we think about when we wake up in the morning. Always the last thing we think about before we go to bed. And when you're out of the game, you naturally miss it. I think naturally when you lose your job, you go through, I suppose, a mourning period really, where you kind of of course it hurts. Probably for us, we've been managing now, this is our 15th season. I think we went 12 seasons without getting a sack, so we did pretty well early on, and then and unfortunately lost our job at Huddersfield and then Portsmouth. I think the Huddersfield one felt different because we'd achieved our objectives in keeping the club up. Kind of took them over at maybe mid-September when they were bottom of the league and managed to keep them up in the Championship. But the Portsmouth experience hurt, definitely. It was kind of the first time that Nicky and I felt that maybe we'd fouled. You know, in football it can be difficult, can't it? You know, we were top at the end of October, and we lost our job in the 2nd of January, having only lost really 2 league games in between, but drawn too many ultimately. Mm-hmm. And that was something that definitely, I think, initially you kind of you definitely feel the pain, and then over time, I think you're able to then to reflect and try to learn. It's always for Nicky and I to look in the mirror rather than look out the window. So I think you're always looking at what we did, particularly once we picked up some injuries and we had some challenges, we didn't quite find the solutions. And then off of the back of that, I think you then, once you've taken that learning and you've reflected, I think you're then looking at your processes and your way of working, and you're looking to try to improve that. We had some fantastic support from the LMA, been into some brilliant clubs, watched some brilliant managers, and this is always great for your learning. I think we spent a lot of time on trying to, we've got real clarity over how we want to play. I think then it's about trying to simplify the message for the players, and it's about trying to find the best way of imparting that knowledge so that the players have clarity. Because I think if you can give the players clarity, then in return they will give you their commitment. And then I think you can find a way of having real consistency in results.
What's it like, Danny, when you initially lose the job, as you say, but then you go through that period of sort of getting used to not being with that club, and then presumably offers come in, and you and maybe Nicky discuss things, and is one of you more interested in getting back in, or you you discuss the opportunities at those clubs, or you speak to people around those clubs? How does that work?
Who has the final say, basically? I like that.
I think it's always joint for us, and it's obviously both of our families, and our parents we're really close as a family. So I think we're really lucky that I suppose we have such a brilliant support network around us to help us make these decisions. But yeah, absolutely. We left Portsmouth and it was so sad for us because we love Portsmouth. We love the people there. It's just a brilliant football club. We'll always have a special place in our heart. And then, of course, the opportunities did come during that period. I think for Nicky and I, it's always we want to try to make intelligent decisions. Well, how do you make intelligent decisions? I think you have to gather all the information, and really, we promised ourselves off the back of probably the last two experiences, just to try to find really good people that we could be aligned with. And we wanted to find a project. We wanted to find somewhere where we felt that we would be able to, add value. And we had quite a few options that we probably tentatively turned down. And the truth being that there was some clubs that we really wanted to go to and they didn't want us, and there was some that probably wanted us and we didn't quite think they were right at that moment. And it's never easy because none of us have a crystal ball, and of course, as human beings, we don't like uncertainty. And unfortunately, in football, and particularly football management, there can be a lot of uncertainty, particularly for your families. So, it was about trying to make an informed, intelligent decision. And once we met Colchester and met Robbie Cowling and Dimitri, the sporting director, those two in particular. When you spoke to Robbie, he spoke with such a passion for the club and so much love for the community, and this really resonated with Nicky and I. And really quickly, I felt that. And I don't know, sometimes football clubs are measured, and I understand this, they're measured by first team performance. And of course, in recent times, probably Colchester United's first team performance hasn't been as good as anybody would have wanted it to be. But there is so many good things going for the football club. Honestly, I've been so impressed. The people, incredible. Some really, really good people. Cat 2 Academy, almost unheard of at League 2 level. Some brilliant young players. Honestly, the amount of high quality young players we have is just in the building is just incredible. Really good facilities. I mean, we have 5 pitches. We have a brilliant training ground. We have a dome. So an indoor facility. So so much going for it. And I think first and foremost we have to work really hard to retain our status in the Football League, and then hopefully we can grow from there.
It's intriguing that you say that, Danny. I mean, I spent a little portion of time in between playing at Leeds and then moving on to Swindon at Colchester, and the training day consisted of getting to the ground, which obviously lovely setup, great ground. The pitch at the time was terrible. We played in the Divot Derby against Southend, which had, bless him, poor Adam Barrett kicking the floor and the ball rolling in and us winning. But we had to get on the bus, drive through town to the garrison to go and train at the Army garrison. And Frank Cadrew came with me at the same time. And given Frank's storied past and his wonderful achievements, you could forgive him for scratching his head thinking, sorry, we're getting on a bus now. Where are we going now? We're going train. So it sounds like it's changed comprehensively. And just to dovetail into that, when you talk about the project and where you are, in a career that's taken in Concord, Braintree, Lincoln City, Huddersfield, Pompey, now Colchester, when I use the term career coach, it really does feel like that with you. There's outward perception of where a manager manages doesn't necessarily matter to you. It's the project, and whether that project's in the Championship, whether it's in League One, whether it's in League Two, given your background as well and the way you've really worked through the divisions to get where you are today. Does it feel, without sounding too kind of twee, all part of the journey? Because you're 15 years in. I get the feeling in 20 years you want to still be doing the same thing, don't you?
Yeah, I think so. We love football. We've been so lucky to have the journey that we have. We've managed in 8 of the top 9 divisions in this country. I think we've learned so much along the way. Our career started as PE teachers, so we've had lots of time on the grass trying to master our craft, really. And whether it's coaching or it's teaching, ultimately it's about connecting with people and trying to, Nicky and I wake up with the ambition of trying to make the players better every single day. We try to make the players, the staff, and absolutely ourselves better. And that's kind of that better than yesterday, I suppose, idea is how we like to live our lives. And yeah, we like projects. I think when I've had my most success at clubs, it's been able to sort of find a club that's self-aware enough to know where it is today, kind of have real clarity over where it wants to go, and you get the start and you get the destination. And once you've got those two bits locked in, then you can then see the stepping stones and maybe help to put the stepping stones in place to achieve the vision. And of course, in football, the time scale that you have to get to this vision is never enough, as we know. But this is why you have to be really, really skillful at trying to accelerate the process as best as you can, I suppose.
You're clearly enjoying what you're doing now, Danny, and where you are as well. But when you think back to 3 promotions in 4 years with Concord, playoffs with Braintree, non-league to League One in 3 years with Lincoln, I mean, that must have been a really special time for you in terms of success, but a real whirlwind as well, because it was just, triumph after triumph, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, we had some really good times. Had some brilliant groups, and it's always the players. And as head coaches or managers, I've lived both sides. I've lived where the team has had real success. My role being absolutely over-exaggerated and people thinking that you can walk on water almost. And then when the teams haven't done so well, being really heavily criticised and blamed. And the truth is, it's always the players. And, our job to try to get a really good group together, to try to create the right partnerships and combinations, both on the pitch and off the pitch. And I think, we loved our time at Concord, 3 promotions, winning the playoff final to get to the Conference South. You have to remember, Concord Rangers, when we took it over, was Concord Rangers Sport and Social Club in the 9th year of English football. And I fought so hard with the owner, Anthony Smith, who's just the best guy, to get that Sport and Social Club off, because I just wanted this to be Concord Rangers Football Club. And of course, we did that, and we managed to get to the Conference South. And Nicky would have obviously played for me in the first 7 years.
How was that?
Well, to be honest, my dad didn't talk to me for about 6 weeks when he first signed, because I convinced him to drop about 4 divisions to play for me. So my dad wasn't happy at all. But he scored, he tells me, 28 goals maybe in our first season as a midfielder. So
wow.
It did definitely give us a good start. We had some really good times, and then his body pretty much gave up on him, and then he kind of come into the coaching role. And we've done significantly better since he stopped playing. So I don't know if that makes him.
Did you make that point?
A bad player or a brilliant coach.
It sounds like he's certainly bridged the gap. I mean, given. But it's probably a bit too far down the line. I was going to say, given the work and the job in front of you at Colchester, you're not tempted to throw him in, are you? I'm sure. I mean, that ship has resolutely sailed.
Absolutely. Well, at Braintree, he was still. I think we registered him as a player because we had such a small squad.
Yeah.
And at that time, he was probably only 36. 35, 36. So probably could have still done it then. But I think he's 42 now. I have no chance. Absolutely no chance. Although, having a year out, we're both probably a little bit fitter than maybe we were a year ago today. So
what's the kind of the in tray at Colchester, given where you are, of course, eyes firmly fixed looking up the division rather than over your shoulder, a nice 5-point cushion. Is it a strong finish between now and the end of the season? Is it more perilous than that day to day? You tell us.
I think for us, it's always to see the best in people. So the way we coach is to see the best in the players. I always see what they can do rather than what they can't do. I always think that in football, try to get the players to do what they can do, set them up for success, try to avoid what they can't do, and see the best in them, and also the best in the situation. And Nicky and I have always run towards the challenge. The opportunity for us is to try to. We're 2 games in. We're 2 games unbeaten. We've definitely been a little bit more competitive. We've, in terms of goals against, particularly expected goals against, has been significantly better. So I think we've helped to organise the team defensively and against the ball. It's naturally a process. It's not something that happens overnight, but we're building and growing. We're trying to build the understanding with the players, grow the understanding, and then develop the connections and the partnerships. But we've made some good steps, and yeah, for us to look up, Dave, that's what I like to do. I like to look forwards and up the league, and I suppose 12th position in my mind would be our first position, and that's what we're aiming to do. But we're absolutely respectful of this division. I think we find the toughest League Two in many years. Some unbelievable teams. I mean, you've only got to look at teams like Sutton and Forest Green that are below us. If you look at the Forest Green squad in particular, wow, they've got such a fantastic group of players. So it shows you how tough this league is, and I think brilliant for English football. Wow, when you have a fourth tier as strong as we have, I think for me, it's the envy of the world.
I think it's impressive what you guys have done as a duet over the years. There is a phrase, isn't there? You've been coined the Ant and Dec of football. How do you take to that comparison?
Well, I think you should ask how Ant and Dec feel about that. We probably feel a lot better than they do. But no, personally in our house we love Ant and Dec. So I'm not sure who's who, but no, we obviously we've worked together we've lived together all of our lives. We know each other inside out. I think it's really natural for us. Obviously, we worked in the same school together, so pretty much our working careers we've spent side by side. We had brilliant success at school. We were State Sports School of the Year at Fitzweimark in 2013, which I think was 4,000 secondary schools. Just had brilliant kids and great times. And yeah, it was really natural for us to work together. I suppose we kind of had that natural kind of chemistry and intuition. We always know where the other one's going, and I think probably because Dave, of our I suppose the journey that we've been on, we're kind of, I suppose, jack of all trades, master of none, but we have a ability to go in and out of roles, and that works quite well for us. And we always, we have a good feeling, and of course trust, which is such a difficult commodity to find in life, I suppose, but certainly in football.
Well, Danny, I mean, it's been a pleasure, mate, to catch up. When you spend time doing the job that we do, and you spend time in watching games or kind of discussing football, and you've been on the sofa many a time, and not seen you in a while, and you forget just how, you don't forget how lovely people are because you made an impression, but it's always nice to catch up and see where you are. I mean, and to have you back in the game is wonderful. Just quickly to round off, I know geographically it's a juggle for you and the family because they're here, there and everywhere. There's another generation of sporting excellence coming through the Cowley family, isn't there?
Well, hope so. Yeah. So my wife was obviously she was an international athlete, so she had a really great career. Loved her sport, and so Isabella plays for Chelsea and was lucky enough to play for England last year, which was just brilliant for her. Football's been so good to us as a family, but wow, when you see your daughter, the national anthem going on, I had to pull myself together, to be honest, because it's like such a great moment for all of us. My little boy George, he's a gymnast. Nicky's little boy Harry still plays for Portsmouth, so he's in the academy there. So yeah, we're a sporting family. We love sport, and Mum and Dad still come to all of our games. I don't think they've missed one game of our managerial career, and I think we're going towards 1,000 games now.
My word!
Well, my mum would have worked she would have worked in the city at JP Morgan. My dad was an accountant in London, and still on a Tuesday night, Braintree Town v Barrow at Barrow, they would be there, even though it was on BT Sports. So we're incredibly lucky to have the support that we do as a family, and we love football, and as I said, football's been good to us, and we're in a good moment, and we're looking forward to the challenges that come.
Well, Danny, we wish you all the very, I mean, that's just put us right in our place from a family achievement point of view. From JP Morgan into the Football League into international football. Stowley, should we just give up, mate, and just kind of crack on and let everyone just box off and listen to the Cowleys and see where they go?
I think you're right. You're spot on. You're spot on. There's a lot to go out there, but no, great to hear all of that, Danny, and all the best for the season.
Pleasure. Thanks, guys. Lovely speaking to you, Dave. Cheers, Pratch. You take great care.
Danny, top stuff, top man. Stowley, you can take a little break now. Danny's off to go and conquer the rest of the world that the Cowleys haven't touched. And for you listening or watching at home, it's the 72 in 72 with Wrexham striker Stephen Fletcher.
I am Stephen Fletcher, and this is my 72 in 72. Leicester, Sheffield Wednesday, Wickham, I don't know where I've got there. Wrexham, Barrow. Oh no, I'm crumbling here. I don't know why. Why am I crumbling here? Norwich, Stoke. This is harder than it looks, and it shouldn't be. Why is this harder than it looks? Gillingham. Oh my god, I'm crumbling. Sunderland. Naming teams I've not played with. Oh my god. I've just went blank, I'm not gonna lie. So blank, it's unbelievable. Should have got the thingy up. Why have I went blank? Right, Notts County. Come on, this is easier than it looks. Shrewsbury. Oh no, crumbled. MK Dons. AFC Wimbledon. How long we got left? Can we just get the timer going? 10 seconds left. Why is this Middlesbrough? Right, I've gone. I've completely gone. Yeah, I went there so bad. That is hard. I just went pure blank. Oh my god.
So, our latest participant in the 72 in 72, fiendishly simply titled Devilishly Hard in Practice. Bless him. Having listened to Stephen when he recorded that, spent a lot of time just going, no, it's better just to guess names, Stephen. Right, so there you go. Unfortunately, that puts him second bottom. Aaron Ramsey is the man that props up the division. Potentially, and this is me trying to mitigate for Mr. Ramsey, saying that he spent a lot of time, obviously, in the top flight with Arsenal and over in Serie A, of course, with Juventus. So maybe his EFL knowledge was sketchy, but Stephen Fletcher, you have absolutely no excuse, my friend. 14th, a world away from Matt Smith at the very top, 38, Richie Wellings, 33, Pete Wild, Wayne Rooney, Ebbo Adams, John Coleman, Mark Albrighton, Joe Bryan, Lucas Djukovic, Liam Rossini, Matt Bloomfield, Andrew Moran, Valerian Ishmael, Alfie May, Gary Rowett, Stuart Dallas, Ruben Colwell, Stephen Fletcher, and Aaron Ramsey. We're going to start, though, Stowley. I'm sure you'd absolutely ace that, wouldn't you?
I'm waiting for you one day to just casually drop in that I've got to do it, and then I'll be
that
cringing away for 72
that I will
seconds.
Think about. And then I can sit this side, as you know I like to do, and ask questions and talk in a mocking tone. That's what I'm going with. So we're going to start in the Championship, and we're going to start, we've just been talking about a couple of names duking out at the very bottom. This is going to be two names at the very, very top. At least now they're back at the very, very top because, of course, going into Monday night, it was first against third, Leicester against Ipswich Town in third. We've seen these two go at each other twice this season. A very small gap between these two games and nothing to separate them. Right now it's 7 points, but on the pitch, Leicester managed to get the noses ahead. Ipswich managed to get themselves back into it. Boxing Day was exactly the same, Stowley.
Yeah, and let's be frank. Everybody is waiting for Ipswich to just disappear. I think it's not happening. They are refusing to go away, and they deserve great credit for that. And Kieran McKenna is wringing everything out of his squad. Not just the ability that they've got. They've scored some wonderful goals recently. They've had some terrific results, of course, throughout the course of the campaign. But that ability to go to Leicester, go behind, and get back into the game and come away with a point. And it's terrific. I think it's terrific for the division as well, in a sense. And I'm not saying this from a point of view of supporting Leicester or supporting Ipswich. When you look at the table, if Leicester had won that game, the advantage at the top would be quite large, and you start thinking, well, is that the title boxed off? Is everyone then playing for that second automatic spot? The fact that it was a draw, the form of Southampton of late, and indeed we'll talk obviously about the form of the other teams behind, just means we've got a really interesting battle for promotion still. And that's great for the division. Obviously, not great if you're a Leicester fan. You want to just win the league and get up. But it keeps the intrigue going, doesn't it? Which is really good for the coverage, for the division, and for all the teams who think they're still in with a chance. And you could draw your line any way you like down the table, really, as to where the sort of promotion hopefuls end, but it's still so congested in that sort of top fight. It's fascinating.
It's wonderful to see, as you say. I mean, Leicester, of course, there's the presumption that they've come into the division one way, Ipswich to the other, that they should be streets ahead of everyone else. At times, it's looked like that. A win for them on Monday would have put them 10 clear of third spot. As it is, it's just 8 points now, which does sound quite big. But given what we've seen from Southampton, as we saw a couple of days, they were in second spot. That game against Swansea, having had the pleasure of watching them there in that first half, obviously Russell Martin coming up against an old colleague of his in Luke Williams, that was as dominant a period of football as I've seen this season from a team that does like to dominate the opposition.
Yeah, and they are absolutely flying, aren't they? 21 unbeaten in all competitions, 20 unbeaten in the league, 48 points from those 20 games in the Championship, which is a terrific run. And I remember covering them in the game, funny enough, against Ipswich early on in the season, which was part of that run when they just couldn't get going. They were playing out from the back and they were gifting teams goals, and it all looked disastrous, and there were sort of cries of Martin out and all that kind of stuff. But it was clear, and from speaking to Russell as well early on in the season, it was clear that was his philosophy. He felt the players could do it. It was a case of getting used to playing that way. And now look at them, absolutely flying. And I was kind of looking at the fact that essentially, obviously, to win football matches, you have to score goals, obvious. But you have to create chances to score goals. And some teams just don't create enough opportunities. Southampton in that game, 21 shots in total, 10 on target, scored 3 goals. The previous game, the 4-0 win against Sheffield Wednesday, 15 shots, 7 on target, scored 4 of them. The previous game, albeit FA Cup against Walsall, so lower league and slightly different team setup, but 19 shots, 7 on target, scored 4 of them. Obviously, it's the old buy a ticket, win the lottery scenario, isn't it? If you create that number of chances, you're going to score a fair few goals, and that's what they're doing at the moment, and they're flying as a result of it. And I think you judge a team, the quality of a team, by their bench. You look at the bench against Swansea, Alcaraz, Rothwell, Holgate, Charles, Stevens, Mara, just a few of the players there. A lot of those would get into a lot of the Championship starting 11s throughout the division. So, Southampton are going to give it a good go. That's clear to see.
I think as well, there's a presumption, isn't there, of standard of squad on paper, therefore translates into results. But as we know, the Championship, not necessarily like that. There is a lot of clout, though, with the likes of Leicester and Southampton that were both in the Premier League last season. Leeds, another one of those, a late winner for them against Preston. You felt there was going to be a bit of an edge to this game because I think they owed them one from the Christmas game, didn't they, with regards to the result at Deepdale. But akin to the opinion that you give me there on Southampton, Leeds, the form that they're in, the little bobble during the course of Christmas, back to winning ways. They're 4 points behind Southampton in 4th place. Are they still in with a shout for that potential gate crashing of second spot?
Absolutely. 3 Championship wins on the bounce for them now. That late win, as you say, against Preston. Late wins are always victories that kind of gather momentum and confidence, don't they? It gets the place bouncing right at the end. Fans go home really happy. It was interesting, I think, to note that penalty, Patrick Bamford, I think, had the ball, and Daniel Farke was screaming onto the pitch trying to get Joel Piroux to take it, which he duly did and scored it. Patrick's penalty record recently hasn't been great, so maybe there was something in that. They play Norwich tonight at the time of recording, so it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out because Norwich are doing well at the moment. But I just kind of had a little look at fixtures and things to come, and the final day of the Championship season, Leeds United host Southampton.
Oh, can you imagine? So, winner takes all in second spot.
We shall see.
That is certainly one to look forward to. Not that we're wishing away these blustery months in between, and I'm sure there's snow to come as well. Anyway, enough of the weather report. West Brom we find in 5th. Coventry City, we saw Hull City win, of course, on Friday night. Norwich recorded a win. And even if you're moving all the way down to Watford, Sunderland and Borough, obviously, wonderful first leg in the Carabao Cup against Chelsea. Slightly chastened, if you like, at Stamford Bridge, but absolutely no disgrace in that when a team that's worth about £1 billion knocks you for 6, literally knocks you for 6. Potentially, though, the moving on of Morgan Rogers at the end of the window, we'll keep a very keen eye on that. A team that I just chucked in there with Coventry, Stowley, doing what Coventry did last season. Started off relatively slowly, relatively quietly, slowly gaining momentum and keeping the likes of Hull and Norwich on the toes.
Yep, 10 unbeaten now in all competitions, 7 wins in that time. I spoke to Mark Robbins before the Leicester game, which I covered, which obviously Coventry beat Leicester, which was quite a result that just kept them ticking over. And he was sort of saying that when they lost Victor Gyökeres and Gus Hamer in the summer. They obviously had to turn things around in terms of players. I think it was a 25-player turnaround in the squad, which obviously is difficult to then get everything to click straight away, which it didn't. But now it well and truly is. He was talking about the fact that he wanted to use Wembley and that the heartbreak of the penalty shootout defeat against Luton at Wembley as a positive, saying, look at the fact that we got there, not the fact that we lost and that we could have gone up, but the fact that we got there. We had such a great season, particularly the second half of the season. So let's kick on and use that for this season, and certainly what they're doing at the moment. And I remember doing a game with Don Goodman, our good friend, a couple of months back, and we were looking at the table and saying, how could this table change? Which team from down here might go flying up? Because there always seems to be one. And we straight away both looked at each other and went, Coventry. and here they are. They're doing what we expected them to do under Mark Robins once everyone had time to gel and to click.
That's certainly been the case. I mentioned Hull City there. That big win for them against Sunderland on Friday night. The little block of time now that they've got to get the players back fit. Jaden Philogene, apparently, Liam sounds very, very happy about him potentially being back for the game against Millwall. They've got Fabio Carvalho, a player that absolutely lit up the Championship last time out. Rumours potentially of Ryan Giles coming in as well, a big part, of course, of what was so good for Borough. They are just a point behind Coventry. They sit 7th. And given what we've seen from them so far this season, is it a dark horse that we're shining a light on, given that recruitment, given hopefully their best players coming back into form and fitness?
Yeah, and I think we often talk in the Championship about the fact that consistency goes a long way, which is perhaps where some of these teams are missing out a little bit. It's why they're not further up in the table. But then all the teams are taking points off each other at the moment. You mentioned the victory against Sunderland. The next 4 games for Hull City are, and I mean this with the greatest respect to the teams they're playing, on paper, considering league positions, they are winnable games. They host Millwall and Swansea. They go to Rotherham and Huddersfield. They'll be tough games because they all are, but they will look at those and think we can win those matches. Then their next 2 are Southampton away and West Brom at home, which clearly are tougher fixtures on paper, but they're also those classic 6-pointers. You don't want to lose them because you're handing your opponents the sort of upper hand and the chance to stretch away. So next 6 games, it'd be interesting to see where Hull City are after that. But beating Sunderland was big. I noted that Mick Beale's now had 6 Championship games in charge, and you compare his 6 Championship games in charge versus Tony Mowbray's last 6, and Sunderland are a point down on what Tony had. Now, albeit different fixtures, of course, in there, and there's lots of ways you can view that. You can say they're as they were, or slightly worse, or whatever. It can add fuel to whichever fire you want to add to. But it just proves that there hasn't been a massive upturn in form or a massive downturn in form. So, you know, it's a right melting pot, isn't it, with all these teams at the moment? Lots to take in.
You mentioned Tony Mowbray, our lovely friend of the pod and also of us at Sky Sports. He's doing Tony Mowbray type things at Birmingham City. Who'd have thunk it, eh?
Well, I think it's fair to say that having appointed Wayne Rooney, and it obviously didn't work, they've gone to someone who's tried and trusted. And yeah, as you say, Jay Stansfield's been buzzing around for Birmingham City all season, and he did well for them against Stoke here. Wonderful free kick as well from Janino Bakuna. And yeah, in fact, Tony said after the game with that, he said, Janino does that every day in training. He's as mad as a hatter, but has amazing skill. And you know, he's done the job for them there. And what is it? 3 games, the last 3 for Tony, 2 all against Swansea, beating Hull in the FA Cup, and then winning away at Stoke City. So he's got his feet under the table now.
Yes, indeed. And of course, we will wish him all the best. Who on earth is Josh Stokes, and why is everybody talking about him?
Well, he was an impressive player at Aldershot Town, now a new signing for Bristol City. And I'm interested in this one because I did the FA Cup game between Aldershot and Stockport, beginning of January. And it was December, wasn't it? And he was the star of the show, absolutely ran the show, scored a couple of goals, looked really good. And I said at the time in commentary that he was an EFL player in the making. It was just a case of which club would go in for him, how Aldershot could sort of hang on to him, what deal they would strike. So he signed a 3.5-year deal. He's only 19, and he's been loaned back to Aldershot to sort of continue his development for the rest of the season, which makes an awful lot of sense, I think, because he's doing really well. He's very at home there. And then Bristol City will have a really good player on their hands at the start of next season.
And a wonderful place, of course, for him to develop. Liam Manning, the man in charge. They're into League One. Pompey are back to winning ways. My word, Peterborough, they are keeping the pace up right behind them. They're a game behind them. They're a point behind them. Bolton, we saw, beat Cheltenham last night. Derby County losing to Reading. Reading, of course, it's perilous both on and off the pitch. They currently occupy 21st spot in League One. Give us the two sides of this coin then. A good win for Reading, not so good, of course, for Derby.
Yeah, tricky for Derby. The last three games, I did the Burton game, which they won just. Right at the end, Conor Harahan, friend of the pod, popping up with that 92nd minute winner, I think it proved to be. It was a tricky game that for them, and Burton put up a really good fight in Martin Patterson's first game in the dugout. And then they went away to Lincoln. Michael Scubala, the Lincoln manager, was actually watching at Pride Park that night. Clearly took some good notes because it was 0-0 between those two. And then, of course, Derby losing to Reading. So a winner drawn a defeat in the last three is certainly not the return that Paul would have wanted, Paul Warne at the Derby helm. So it's 1 point from the last two games, having won 10 of the previous 12. So when you put it into that longer run, they're still flying. But it'll frustrate them that they've come unstuck in those last two and that they were run so close by Burton Albion, particularly when they're kind of in a run of games which on paper, and it's easy to say on paper, isn't it? Games that they should
winnable.
Win. Reading, Cheltenham, they go to Charlton and Exeter as well. Home against Shrewsbury, teams that are not having a good time of it in League One. So you'd expect a good points return. So, yeah, they'll be really disappointed with those last couple of games for sure.
Mentioned Shrewsbury, as a slight aside for that, with regards to Derby, Corey Blackett-Taylor coming in as well, which could be a key fixture, key signing for them. Matt Taylor's come out of Shrewsbury. Michael Appleton also, after last night's result at Charlton, being resolutely, I don't know how to word this, informed of what a certain portion of the fan base thinks of what's gone on at Charlton in recent weeks. He's since parted company.
And that was I think Charlton stated it was that he'd left his post with immediate effect, and they actually said that they posted on social media 30 minutes after the final whistle. Wow. So it really was immediate effect. It was 30 minutes after the 97th minute winner for Northampton Town. So absolutely immediate effect.
Wait, I mean, there was a bit of consternation in the lead up to the game, wasn't there, with regards to the position of the manager and who potentially was in charge. I mean, we'll come on to Shrewsbury in just a second, but if you look at 1, 2, 3, 4, the last 5 managers, Adkins, Jackson, Garner, Holden, Appleton, no one's been there for longer than 8 months. Dean Holden was the man there for 8 months. Nigel Adkins was 7 months. Taken off Twitter, reading a bit of a thread, fingers pointed about not necessarily it being solely the manager's fault. Would you agree with that, given how quickly you're looking at the turnaround of personnel at the head of that particular team?
Well, we often talk about the need for stability, don't we, to sort of help a club climb up through the divisions or up through a division if you feel like you're stuck there. Charlton fans feel, certainly after the good times that they've had, the Premier League years and the good time of the Championship, that being in League One is not where they should be or they want to be. But there needs to be that little bit of stability within the club, doesn't there? There's been ownership changes, there's been all sorts going on in the last few years down there. So I feel for Charlton fans because having done a couple of games there in the recent past, they just want that stability, that manager to sort of really get behind and to see their team climb up the division. And at the moment, it's just not happening. And you look at the table, and what are they now? 16th in the division now. And actually, they're part of a cluster of 5 teams on 30 points, along with Wickham and Port Vale, Exeter and Shrewsbury. And they're only 4 points above the relegation zone. So we've actually got quite the relegation battle in League One, which is certainly where Charlton don't want to be. Burton and Cambridge just 1 point better off than those 5 clubs. So there's a lot of noise around the club, and understandably so. But they have actually now got to dig in. They've got to find the right manager to make sure that they're not sucked into that danger area below that dotted line, because it's a horrible battle down there with a lot of clubs involved.
It's a horrible battle down there. And I mentioned Shrewsbury Town, Matt Taylor moving on from them. And then just looking at a post 11 minutes ago as we record from Shrewsbury Town, he's back. Paul Hurst appointed Shrewsbury Town head coach. delighted to confirm that he's back. The 49-year-old enjoyed huge success when he was first appointed town boss in October 2016. So there's a pleasing kind of synchronicity to this, him coming back to a club that he did so very, very well with. Given, of course, last time out we saw him at Grimsby Town. What kind of manager do they get? Do they get a more rounded, a more experienced, a better individual, Stowler, do you think?
Well, they certainly get a more experienced individual than Matt Taylor. And I think I was listening to various people's opinions about the departure of Matt from the club. Shrewsbury, the lowest scorers in the whole of the EFL after Exeter City scored last night to win against Bristol Rovers. So Shrewsbury now out on their own as the lowest scorers. So they need that confidence boost in front of goal, as well as obviously potentially new faces who can come in and find the goals, which we may well see now that the new manager is appointed with a little bit of time left in the window. I think what sort of did for Matt Taylor in the end, 7 defeats in 8, obviously results weren't right, but also the style of football. There were a lot of criticism of the way the team were playing the game, and that will change under Paul, because Paul will come in and put his style on things, and also he will get the backing of the fans because of what's gone before. And so he's going to have a great start because there's a feeling around the club that is now more positive.
A huge good luck, of course, and to his assistant Chris Doig, who I was in the youth team with at Nottingham Forest, and he was my landlord for a season, which we have both contrasting takes on how successful that
that's another pod right there, isn't it?
Well, yes. He got me moved out pretty swiftly. What can I say? Scotsman, they're very clean. Yorkshireman, very untidy. Into League Two. Standout result of the weekend. Barrow 1, Crewe 3. That's 4th versus 5th, mind you, in League Two. Away from all the big boys chat, away from all those hugely funded teams at the very, very top. Wrexham had the chance to go top, but they lost, of course, because Stockport weren't in action. Troy Deeney's moved on from Forest Green. I'm intrigued to see where that goes and who comes in next. There was a game coming away from the weekend, Stowley, that we were chatting about just before we started recording, which was bonkers last night, which was, in essence, you read it, Wigan 1, Wycombe 0. Is that even a quarter of the story?
Not really, no. Crazy game this, wasn't it? The winner scored in the 20th minute of added time for Wigan. Charlie Hughes popping up with the winner against Wycombe. And the delay was all basically, or in large part, due to the referee getting caught in a midfield sandwich, if you like, between two midfielders getting injured. They had to replace him with the 4th official, who then needed replacing from the crowd. And the large delay obviously meant that the game just carried on and carried on. Everyone had finished all their other games. Most people had left the grounds of all the other games. But that one carried on right to the end, and they got their winner. One of those crazy stories where the announcement goes around the tannoy, is there a qualified referee
in the house?
And someone puts their hand up and eventually gets kitted up, and on they go.
Bless them. There's always something, and this is probably my dark sense of humour, funny about, unfortunately, a referee getting sandwiched between two midfielders in a colossal challenge in the middle of the pitch. I'm sure there was so much goodwill and emotion filtering down from the stands as that happened. I do a lot of work with refs and officials, and you know that I love you all to bits. Just to round off, Stowley, I've mentioned Forest Green in dispatches over the course of the week, which speaks for itself. Sutton United, Steve Morrison now in charge, a vital point for them against Mansfield. And we spoke to Danny Cowley, the wonderful Danny Cowley earlier on, with Colchester just 5 points above. Do you give the bottom two any chance of staying up?
Well, I think you have to, just purely based on, Danny made a reference to Forest Green's squad, which has plenty of potential to climb up the table. They've got that 6-point gap between themselves and Colchester just above that dotted line. So there's a lot of work to be done. Sutton United, Steve Morrison going in, appointed on January the 6th. He's had 2 league games since. He's drawn at home to Barrow and drawn away at Mansfield. Now, if you're second bottom in the table, it's probably fair to say you're not expecting too much out of 2 games against 2 of the top teams in the division. So he's brought in new players. He's extended Dean Bouzanis' loan, which was all important to defensive stability, and 2 points against those top teams. It's a very positive start. So, yeah, teams like Colchester, Doncaster, Salford, obviously they'll be aware of that. Salford themselves starting to go on a little good run under Carl Robinson. So it's heating up at the bottom, and clubs need to be aware that things could well change in the weeks ahead. And bear in mind, we're still only in January. There's a lot of football still to go.
There is a lot of football still to go. David Stowell, as ever, this has been an absolute delight. Thank you very much, my friend. Where are you headed to next? What's your next game?
I thought you meant literally now, because I've got to go and grout the bathroom. So that's my bit of footballing glamour for the morning. Next game, I'm not sure where I am next. The diary sort of all blurs into one, but I'll focus on trying to get the tiles in the right place.
Do it. That's amazing. And send me a picture of your work, because mine needs doing. I might have to get you over here, and we can commentate on it as we go through. Anyway, Stowley, top stuff. Good to see you, my friend. As ever, no stone left unturned with the forensic David Stowell. He was great, as was the delightful Danny Cowley, and of course, Wrexham's Stephen Fletcher. Hopefully you've enjoyed this latest edition. If you have, then please do give us a follow wherever you get your podcasts, or watch it all right here on YouTube. It's ace, either way. My name's David Prutton, and I'll see you same time next week for another episode of the official EFL podcast.